Before the video starts, I have a terrifying announcement. I am now back on Twitter. You can go follow me right now, and currently I'm holding a competition where the most liked reply becomes my banner for the next month. Please be gentle. I was very stressed making the account. Now, in 2019, I uploaded a YouTube video on the Netflix film Tall Girl, a film about a girl, surprisingly enough, that is tall. The male equivalent of that film would be a man that is 5'11" instead of 6 foot. Now, in the original Tall Girl, every single character was usually defined by a specific trait. For example, the protagonist, Jodie, who was, you know.
Well, stand up straight, walk tall. No, slouching. How's the weather up there?
Jodie also had a sister, Harper, who was liked by everyone, incredibly popular, and her only drawback was having seasonal allergies. And if you couldn't pick that up in the film, the writers would remind you every 7 seconds by having her sneeze. You had Jack as well, a childhood friend of Jodie, who was basically simping for her and wanted to go out with her at day one, but he was outshined by Stig, the Swedish exchange student. And it turns out that Stig, as amazing as he looks, had the personality of Patrick Starr's house.
Look, Jodie, I'll end it with Kimmy if it means I can be with you. I was thinking I will do it tonight.
The film basically ended with Jodie dumping PewDiePie to get back with Jack, her original interest. He may be a manlet, but he has the heart of someone over 6 foot. Now, they would have lived happily ever after if Tall Girl didn't get a ton of Netflix subscriptions, making Netflix a ton of money, making a sequel inevitable.
I also have an empire to run and contracts to take out. I mean, sign.
Now, I don't really care about Netflix sequels. I mean, if anything, it's punching down. Oh, my goodness gracious. I mean, how are we going to improve art if we cannot critique it? Before we begin, YouTube has a bug that can randomly unsubscribe you, so consider subscribing. It's totally free, and if you do, I can stop making this horrible intro at the start of every video. And also, Mr. Beast said you get a free cookie. You remember when you did that?
When are your cookies gonna come in the mail? And I just want you guys to know that I'm almost done packaging all your cookies. I've had some people in a sweatshop.
Now, the original Tall Girl was directed by Nzinga Bazinga Stewart, who's most known for directing films for the Lifetime TV network. For any Americans watching, it's the show that your mom watches while she cries into her glass of wine. I tried to do some research on this network. All I could really find was couples arguing and sweating into their clothes.
Look at his pit stain! He's sweating!
Now, the sequel is directed by Emily Ting, who's most well known for directing films about Asian culture. Like, for example, Go Back to China, a film about a spoiled Asian American that runs out of money and goes back to her roots to work with her father that for some reason looks like every Nintendo store ever. Also, the budget for Tall Girl 2, 24 million. That is 10 million more than the original. I am so happy about this information. I really am. I mean, you could have bought the rights to Utopia, made a season 3. Nah, it's fine. Tall Girl, she's tall, it's funny. The kids will watch it.
Great, well, I'm off to go kill myself.
The film begins with Jack and Jodie still together after the end of the first film, doing a quick recap. I'm not going to bother because I already just did that for you. You know what? There is one important scene you should watch. Is this one.
With the lady, careful. Oh, my back! Unfortunately, the milk crate's no longer.
To be fair, it's incredibly brave. At the start of the sequel, they would game end one of the main characters.
Are you sure you don't mind leaning down to kiss me?
Yeah, I'm sure.
We now see Jodie, essentially the polar opposite of how she was in the first film, with shining confidence and everyone loving how tall she is. For example, look at this random person as a cameo for 3 seconds. Look how much he adores Jodie.
Of course.
Jodie!
Mikey, what's up?
I do love how much the film overcompensates here, though. Like, it couldn't just be that she's now a normal girl with, like, baseline respect. She's gone from the lowest person in the school to the highest. Jodie, with her newfound confidence, signs on to be one of the main characters in the school's musical production. And then is quickly joined by Stig, the person that she dated and then stitched her up in the first film.
Hey.
Wow. What are we celebrating?
We aren't celebrating anything because we are no longer friends. Keep walking, IKEA.
See, the thing is, the film doesn't really know what to do with Stig. I don't even know why he's a character in the sequel. Previously, he dated Jodie in the first film, but then realized that Stig was a complete clout leech, and he'd go to public events basically saying, this girl's obsessed with me, I'm not even interested in her. And then Jack, the manlet, he stood up for Jodie, essentially proving to everyone that Stig was a complete scumbag. But even though all that's been done, Stig is still like orbiting the friend group. No one in the group wants him here apart from Jodie, I guess out of sympathy, kind of. Like I said, he really has no place in the second film, but you know, I guess he was under contract or something. Who knows? Maybe they'll do a trilogy where he's the main protagonist in the third film. Tall boy. Just not even... Such a garbage title. Now, in the previous Tall Girl video, I kind of went over all the characters and who they're played by, so I'm not really going to repeat that here. But one thing of note is Stig is played by Luke Eisner, an American putting on possibly the worst Swedish accent I've heard in my life.
Bye Bye Birdie? Wow, that's my second favorite musical. After Guys and Dolls.
I even asked an actual Swedish person what they thought, and they said it sounds more German, if anything. Come on, bro. Just put on a couple PewDiePie videos. Come on, man.
Det är svårt att fatta, ärligt talat. Eftersom allt är på internet så ser inte jag det på samma sätt.
Jodie waiting for auditions meets Tommy, and it's painfully obvious that he's going to be the Stig in this film that Stig was in the last film. Basically the love interest. Maybe I'm being a bit pessimistic, maybe a bit too cynical. Surely they wouldn't stoop that low as to introduce a new conventionally attractive character only for them to kiss. All right. Netflix, I'm trying. You gave me the platform, bro. You can do better than this. I like how they've almost had to outdo how conventionally attractive Stig was. So Tommy looks like a mix between Echo 2K and the Bogdanovs. If you haven't heard of Echo 2K, shame on you. Music's banger. Tommy really respects Jodie because of her speech at the end of the first film, which was basically tall, le good. And I mean, it's a nice scene. At the minute, he isn't really attracted to her. It's more just that he respects her. And then this scene is entirely ruined by bringing Stig in for no reason whatsoever.
Hey, man, watch it.
Sorry. Jeez. You okay?
Yeah, I'm really happy he did that. That adds so much to the scene. Anyways, Jodie goes to the audition.
And what would you say to people who don't think that being tall is a real problem? Getting a terminal illness, being homeless, not knowing where your next meal is coming from. Those are real problems. But you seem to have so much going for you. What do you have to complain about?
Now, as easy as it is to dunk on this film, and believe me, it is, I do genuinely like this scene. Because at the end of the day, Jodie is successful, she's conventionally attractive, she has everything going for her. And at the end of the day, what really is wrong with being just a little bit taller? Her height really hasn't held her back, and if anything, is completely overshadowed by real-life problems like world hunger and me running out of Xbox Live. The scene cuts to Jodie back home with sister Harper, but also parents Helene and Richie. Helene is played by Angela Kinsey, best known for playing Angela Martin in The Office.
I mean, I usually try to take leave when I get a new cat, but I'm out of vacation days.
You have your cats on nanny cam.
And Richie is played by Steve Zann, most known for Bad Ape in the Monkey film.
Filthy plumbers. Peach's pussy's mine.
Now, to be fair, I've seen Steve Zann a fair amount in media recently. He's a competent actor, most known for roles in the late 90s and early 2000s. Never really a main character, more of that like sidekick energy. Here, he plays a caring but somewhat oblivious father. Pretty much the exact same role he played in HBO's The White Lotus. You should totally watch that show, by the way. The soundtrack is made by the same guy that did the Utopia soundtrack. Totally different show, but the music... chef's kiss. Jodie's sister, Harper, is happy to announce that she's got a new job. There's just one small problem.
Congrats. Thank you. Oh, by the way, the job is in LA.
No!
I just want to say now, I pray for that girl. LA is truly the Dark Souls 2 of America. Also, some good news for Jodie. She gets a text saying she actually made the part for the musical as the main character. I mean, yeah, that's great, but it kind of had to happen because, you know, that's the only thing going for this film because Jodie's already pretty much, like, squashed any insecurity she has. It's essentially a complete retread of the first film, but this time, instead of prom, musical. Later on, Jodie and Jack go out on a date and have this literal NPC exchange.
Is that where you're treating yourself to 2 scoops?
You know my motto, taller is always better.
Speaking of taller, what you like, 6'2", 6'3"?
Rude.
No.
No. Rude. And you know what? Sorry, excuse me. Sorry. Hold on. No more toppings for you.
No.
Okay?
Now, I get it. This conversation is supposed to let the audience know that Jodie has developed and grown from the first film. She's no longer insecure about people mocking her for her height. She owns it. But at the same time, it comes off as just so mean for no reason. Oh, you look tall girl. That's the name of the movie. That's the name of the movie.
Connection terminated. I'm sorry to interrupt you, if you still even remember that name. But I'm afraid you've been misinformed. It's somehow out of reach.
Now, the problem from the first film is Jodie is essentially a flawless character now. Her insecurity from the first film was squashed and beaten, so now what the writers have tried to do as this weird cope is bring her insecurity back out of nowhere in the form of voices in her head.
You don't deserve this part.
You got lucky.
You finally got your dream.
Kill her now.
I like how they made the voice in her head sassy. Just like anyone that has any kind of doubts before a show, they just have this really sassy voice. You can't do that Instagram live, queen. You're gonna get bullied. That's what they do, right? Finger snapping. Jodie opens up about this to Harper, and she talks about the voices in her head like it's some kind of supervillain speaking exclusively in trailer talk.
I was afraid this might happen. I prayed it wouldn't, but if only I prayed harder.
Harper basically explains that the more famous Jodie gets, the louder the voices will get. I can't take that line seriously. Like, the voices get louder. It's like it's like one of those like schizophrenic troll face memes. And honestly, I don't mind it. It just feels pointless because you're basically saying that Jodie never had any of this insecurity before, none of these voices. Like, even before, at the end of the first film, she gave this huge speech in front of the whole school about she is who she is and she's happy being tall. There was no voices then? Why have they only just came on now? But then let's forget all that because the film has its first and only Five Nights at Freddy's jump scare. Look. This is Kimmy, by the way, Jodie's childhood bully. She was in the first film, but her role in this film, like pretty much everyone else, is massively diminished. Now, Kimmy is obviously infuriated that Jodie got the part to the musical, but it's not really explained why Kimmy despises Jodie so much and targets only her. There's no flashback or anything. She's just picked her for no reason. Now, what bullies tend to do is try to belittle someone to make themselves feel better. You know, harass them, bully them, push them around. Kimmy wants to drug Jodie, so she passes out and goes into a coma.
All we have to do is humiliate Jodie so badly on the first day of rehearsal that she drops out. For instance, and I'm just pitching, you slip NyQuil into one of those smoothies Dunkelman is always making for her so she passes out.
Jodie's group then go out thrift shopping, where Stig, yet again, is bullied into oblivion.
Hey, Frida. Is this me?
I don't know, Stig. Who are you?
Haven't say twins.
Why does he continue to hang out with this group if all they do is bully him? Having no friends would actually be slightly better at this point. He hasn't had any kind of redemption arc, by the way. He's just been reduced to a punching bag for everyone in the friend group except Jodie. I tell you, man, they're keeping him around for a reason. He's going to have some kind of superpower in the third film. I'm calling it now. Before the first rehearsal, Jack, the loving and caring boyfriend that he is, gives Jodie tons of supplies to make it through.
Here you go. It's 3 water bottles. You can just put those anywhere.
Thank you.
Some throat coat tea and a kettle to warm up the water for the throat coat tea. Some lozenges and a snack, because I know you like to snack. Got you a pitch pipe for singing.
How caring. But unfortunately, he did not give Discord Nitro to his kitten. So overall, bad boyfriend. Jodie makes her way into rehearsal, where more voices come out of nowhere to tell her how terrible she is. But this time there's like a blur effect around the camera, like someone forgot to wipe the lens. We've never seen this blur effect before, even though the voices were there before. Why add it now?
You're way out of your league. And they all know it. Kimmy should be the lead. Kimmy. And you know it.
She meets Tommy, who's her acting partner for the next month. Who could have seen that coming? Which leads Jodie to say this, quite peculiar line.
It's fine.
Okay. It's just tall people aren't really known for their coordination.
You got this.
Who has ever said tall people aren't known for coordination? I mean, if you want to be literal here, tall people are usually infinitely more successful than shorter people. High-paid CEOs and presidents have always been inches taller than the average person. Look, I know I sound like one of those people that's like, they can't get a girlfriend because they're too short. I know that shut up. You don't know my height. You see how tall I am, bro? Look at this. This is my actual height, by the way. This is like, I usually have to crouch down. Every video I've recorded has been on my knees, bro. I am so tall. Anyway, so Jodie does her rehearsal and it's in a montage format. So you just know it's going to be terrible. She's going to fumble every single scene. And she begins by doing a Mortal Kombat kick to the back of someone's head. And then a bunch of other mistakes. All right, I'm not doing this anymore. Back to my knees I go. Back on my knees. And then she makes a bunch of other mistakes, like forgetting her lines, singing terribly, and breaking a piano worth thousands of dollars. You notice how I said dollars, not pounds, because most of you are American? That's called...
Sorry. You're making it worse. Christian.
It's fine, see?
Why does Tommy apologize? He is not the one that spilt juice all over the piano. After the rehearsal, Jack is cooking a Valentine's meal for him and Jodie and has the exact same reaction that I do, spending 50 hours on a YouTube video only for it to get demonetized.
Come on. Oh boy. Please. Ah! Oh no!
Now, the food's ruined, it's botched, but thankfully, Stig is here to help, guys. I am so happy about this information. Now, the thing is, Stig lives with Jack because he's an exchange student and he was lodging with Jack, but Jack now hates him. Why is Stig still living with Jack? It's already been established that he stole Jack's girlfriend and then talked bad about her. Like, why is he not on the streets at this point? Stig, being the kind stranger that he is, does actually help Jack fix up the meal. Jodie comes around, but unfortunately, those prevalent voices come again, saying that Jack will essentially break up with Jodie the first chance that he gets.
Once you bomb, he'll say, bye-bye, Jodie. So enjoy tonight.
The voices in Jodie's head are actually the main protagonists of this film, none of the bullies. I mean, I respect the change. You know, they didn't just bring in like a new bully who's even worse than Kimmy because she's got a smaller role in this film. But again, it feels so pointless. Who knew that Tall Girl 2 would actually be a psychological thriller for children? Now, Jodie having essentially a soft panic attack, she wants to leave and get some fresh air. But unfortunately, because she's not being direct about it, Jack takes it personally, thinking he's done something wrong.
I mean, why would the star of the spring musical have any time for little old dunks anymore? Am I a burden to you? Because that's what it feels like. Do you know how many candles I lit for this? This was a big deal.
Yeah, Jodie, look how many candles the prop department lit for you. Come on, show some respect, man. So yeah, Jodie leaves, Jack is depressed, and then the dad comes in to add it into his cringe compilation.
We just grab one with a flash, and here's my handsome boy.
The next day, Jack and Stig go to school together, and I guess Stig's on his good side now because he cooked that meal for him. So Jack actually asks Stig about some dating advice. Not the person I'd ask about dating advice, but all right, sure.
Explain to me again why you can't crack first.
Because I've been chasing this girl my entire life. If I just hold my ground, I can win this fight.
Nobody wins in this kind of fight.
This is America. There's always a winner.
No, Jack. There are no winners in America, except us. For laughing at you for not having free healthcare. I don't care that I have to be in a waiting room for 19 hours straight. And when I book a doctor's appointment, I have to wait 72 weeks. Because with me, it's free. And that's all that matters. Oh yeah, do you remember Kimmy was in this film, the high school bully? Yeah, the film doesn't really know what to do with her again. So she has a breakup with her friend Schnipper, who was kind of like the henchman co-bully in the first film. He's suddenly got a moral compass now and doesn't want anything to do with her.
You're making me eat lunch alone?
On some level, we all eat lunch alone.
Jack then sits down with Jodie and tries to squash the beef by being incredibly passive-aggressive and bitter to each other.
I just think that you want to break up and you don't have the guts to say it.
You don't think I have the guts?
I don't think you have the guts.
I have the guts.
Really? Then say it.
You say it, if you have the guts to say it.
Fine, I want to break up.
Great.
Great.
And the best thing is, despite him being totally silent, this is somehow still Stig's fault.
Stig, you would make a horrible therapist.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Please, don't make me feel bad for Stig, man. Do not make me empathize with the broken PewDiePie person, please. Do not. Jack then gets a text from his dad saying something has happened and he needs him outside. Jack, obviously thinking an emergency has happened, rushes outside to see that his dad has brought over Stig's sister.
Surprise! Oh my God!
So instead of the dad politely sending Stig home like he should have, he then brought his sister over as well. Apparently, he thinks that having his sister over will help him adjust better. I don't think that's the problem. I think Stig is the problem. How many times do I have to say this? In the first film, Stig's shown his true colors. He is snaky and malicious. I mean, he might have turned over a new leaf now, but it's too late.
You rented more Swedes?
We thought he'd appreciate having some family around since you've been ignoring him for the past 3 months.
I didn't know he had a sister.
Yeah, I wonder why. Corey Dunkelman, best known for Railroad Boy in Joe Dirt. What was that sentence I just said right there? Stig's sister, Stella, is played by Johanna Liao, another American trying to force a Swedish accent.
I was a mess.
I can't wait for you to show me the city!
I mean, I've got time now.
If you want to do Swedish accent, you sound like this. Oh my God, is it that hard? I wake up a Swedish man, I eat my meatballs and put on my jeans.
Jack then takes off with Stella and Stig, more to kind of spite Jodie, and then the voices in her head basically tell her, yeah, Jack's gonna get with Stella. You've got no chance. Despite, even though in the previous scene, he was annoyed that he has more people to live with. But first, a sponsor from NordVPN. Jesus Christ. It's been a minute since we've had a sponsor. What's Internet Historian done recently?
An amazing mock movie trailer that people are calling one of the best ad reads of all time.
Damn, that guy's a genius. Hang on, I have an idea to get everyone to download this product. You know that mission in GTA 5 when you rob the jewelry store and only have 1 minute to grab everything? Well, with NordVPN, they would have had 2 minutes. What, can't promote criminal acts? Yeah, all right. So let's say Trevor from GTA 5 is you, a simple man trying to protect his data. Now let's say this bottle is NordVPN and this man is an attacker trying to steal your data.
I love NordVPN for preventing data attackers.
I'm talking to you!
You get it now?
You do a single comparison to anything without involving video games.
No. Anyways. Oh no, a new anticipated release of a video game that I was so excited for costs more money in my country. But thanks to Nord, I'm in a new country and the game is cheaper. I am so happy. You can even encrypt your information so salty gamers can't DDoS you just because they're losing. Here's an example of a poor soul that didn't have NordVPN. Want to watch your favorite streamer, but you have terrible internet? NordVPN encrypts all your traffic, so your disgusting, depraved internet service provider can't slow down your streaming speeds. But you know what? I don't care about the money. I care about you. That's why by using my link down in the description, you get a huge discount off a 2-year plan. Bruh. Oh my goodness gracious. And you know what? I care about you all so much that you get a discount. And you, and even you. I am but a humble billionaire, and you are all my subjects. Ad over. So, Jodie in Tall Girl 1, despite her insecurities, very methodical, very thought out, reasonable. Jodie in Tall Girl 2 is the character from Smiling Friends that goes...
Dude, I warned you. I said I was going to do that if you did that again.
So Jodie and Jack have like kind of broken up. I guess. I don't know. But then Stig's entire purpose of being in the sequel is revealed because all along he was telling Stella how amazing Jack and Jodie were together. And Stella tells Jack this and he goes, oh my God, girlfriend? I like girlfriend. Hello?
He and Jodie broke up.
That can't be. You two are destined to be together.
Destined to be together?
That's what Stig told me.
What? When?
The night he called to say he blew it with Jodie. He also said that what made the whole thing even worse was that he blew his chance to be friends with you. He doesn't have many of those back home.
You never said anything.
you never asked.
So this crucial plot point was never revealed because Stig, someone that Jack did not like for obvious reasons, was never asked about his feelings. Aww. The film just gave up. The film, this is the point where Walt became Heisenberg. This is the point the film gave up. Back at the school, Jack is in a painting class with Schnipper, and to be fair, we actually get a good gag here.
What do you think you're doing?
Just working through some Jodie feelings I've kept locked inside.
What Jodie feelings?
Love and loss, bro.
You didn't lose her, though. I did.
Come on, I lost her a little bit.
No, that's what I'm saying, is you can't lose someone a little bit. You either lose them or you don't.
Hey, who would have thought that the love of our lives would be the exact same person?
I like this gag because even though Schnipper basically exchanged a single kiss with Jodie in the first film, he almost feels eternally more hard done by than Jack ever was. It also plays into the story because it reminds Jack that Jodie really does care about her, and she's that popular and important to the point that someone that had a brief kiss with her is now infatuated with her. Also, the paintings are great. You kind of expect Jack to come up with the Picasso painting and say that he's not obsessed, but he actually does the one that looks like MS Paint compared to the magnum opus that Schnipper does. Meanwhile, Jodie is slumping into depression. If her acting wasn't enough to portray that, there's now sad music and this weird blue filter like I'm watching Ozark on Netflix.
You will lose. I will lure it up. I will dig in.
Impressive. Very nice.
If you're this nervous looking at a poster, what are you gonna do on stage?
Getting psyched for opening night? Yeah, so psyched.
Now, I'm not sure if you guys can tell, but she's quite sad. Such a catastrophe. Her anxiety post-breakup has obviously skyrocketed, and it's now bleeding into a performance with her worried about the stage play coming ahead on the weekend. But then thankfully, the star of the show, Tommy, shows up because the film doesn't really quite know what to do with him yet, and he gives some words of advice, saying that when he was younger, he was incredibly overweight and lost all the weight, but even though he looks better, he doesn't feel better.
This is the place where I got my nickname that lasted all the way throughout middle school. Tommy Potamus.
You were overweight?
Oh yeah, way over. I don't know, I started exercising and eating right and got the weight off eventually. But I still felt the same way inside. Look, Jodie, this place has been just one big bad memory for me. Maybe you can help me turn it into a good one.
And then they both did crack and died peacefully. I wish that was the canon ending, but instead they just do a funny dance in the park and end up eventually making out. I mean, to be fair, this kind of had to happen. With Stig out of the picture, Jodie and Jack breaking up, without Tommy, it would have lasted about 40 minutes instead of 2 hours. Meanwhile, Jack is watching less sad videos of him and Jodie basically punishing himself. And to be fair, these phone recordings are like 2% better than the ones in the first film, because this time they're actually holding the camera to make it look like it's not an $8,000 camera they're holding, just an iPhone. He then goes to delete the footage, but doesn't quite have the stomach to.
We're never gonna break up. Never. We're perfect.
Hang on a minute. A truly emotional scene with no funny? Let's change that real quick.
What you doing?
Hey, don't you ever knock?
You've been in there for over an hour. I was getting worried.
Beignet?
Always.
Jodie and Jack then meet up the next day to finally get back together, but then the film realizes there's still another hour of runtime left, so Jodie fumbles it and mentions to Jack how she kissed Tommy last night. He goes into a complete gamer rage and leaves the lobby instantly. I mean, to be fair, like, it was a one-time kiss, and they were single at the time, so...
I don't know, I don't see a problem with it.
But Jack doesn't see it that way and goes home to remove any memorabilia he has of her. He's actually become such a moron that Stig has become the voice of reason in this film.
Catch. Gone.
I really think you're going to regret throwing all this stuff out.
I'm already up to my ears in regrets. What's one more?
This reasoning is quickly cast aside as Stella, Stig's sister, is also going through a breakup. So Jack and Stella then have this really stupid idea where they form a pact, not dating, but a pact to remind themselves of how they were hard done by so they can just like feed their bitterness. The next scene is a montage of them being happy, and not to mention tons of ADR. If you don't know what ADR means, it's essentially when the audio is re-recorded for a scene because there was too much background noise. So you'll have characters speaking, but what they're actually saying is coming from a studio, usually recorded later. The problem is ADR is usually really hard to do, and it ends up with characters looking really unnatural when they speak, with lines not matching their lips. Just to put into context, the infamous film The Room, that was entirely done in ADR, and you can tell how unnatural every scene is.
Phase 2 is where we we show our exes that we don't need them. You know, that we're living our best lives.
Yeah, because we don't need to be in relationships to be happy.
Thank you. Yes, that we're not, you know, dying inside.
Yeah, I don't missing bar at all.
Jodie then spends the rest of the day lurking Jack's Insta posts, punishing herself by seeing how happy Jack is. I love as well how these were all posted like 5 minutes apart instead of days. They're taken at the exact same places in the park. Jodie then goes to her sister Harper to ask her for breakup advice.
Okay, what do I do? When Diego and I broke up, and I kissed Alexander.
Harper, this is not about you.
Right, I always forget that. Okay, if he's not returning texts or calls, you need to knock on his door and force him to talk things out.
Ah, yes. Going to someone's house unannounced. I have seen enough Jehovah's Witness videos to know how this will end. And even though that is just such a terrible idea, Jodie does it anyway. Only to find out that Jack has pretty much moved on completely, or at least faking it to make it look like he has.
Sorry, but I don't need this anymore.
It was a gift.
It just doesn't feel right to keep it.
It's so painfully obvious that he still has feelings for her and wants to get back with her, but he also wants to spite her at the same time. I mean, I'm not sure where else this movie can go, so oh wait, can we bring Tommy back? No, it's all right, yeah. Let's just call it Tommy time whenever he's introduced.
So, about the other night. Yeah, look,
Yeah.
I had the best time. But you didn't say anything to me afterwards. Or since, really, so...
Yeah, my boyfriend and I had just broken up. And I mean, just. So I don't think I was expecting that to happen so soon afterwards.
We don't have to rush into anything, okay? I just want to get to know you better.
Tommy now has romantic feelings for Jodie, again, replicating the exact same beats from the first film. Because in that film, Jodie and Jack fell out with each other, so Jodie got with Schnipper, and Jack got with that Liz girl that just despawned. I don't know, maybe Slenderman stole her, I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna say, this isn't even Tall Girl 2. It's like Tall Girl 1.5. Oh, I wouldn't even say that, actually. This is the exact same film, but now Jodie has a red bag. Speaking of red bag, Jodie goes to the bonfire, finds out that her shoes from prom in the first film are in there that Jack gave her, and wants to burn them by kindling the bonfire.
My boyfriend and I just broke up. And he was my first boyfriend, which I've heard is the hardest one to get over. He gave me these. It's probably one of the sweetest things anyone has ever done for me. But as long as these exist, I don't think I'll be able to move on. And I want to move on. Okay.
Only for her to regret it moments later, because just like Jack, she doesn't want to move on. Of all imagine everyone you've seen in this film. Imagine who comes to the rescue. Not Schnipper, not Stig, Kimmy, the high school bully that has been tormenting Jodie her entire life. I want to say, why? You could have easily added a couple extra shots of her just on her own or like reconciling, but no, it just comes out of nowhere. We then get a scene where Jodie's group, minus Jodie, are having dinner with Farida's parents. Notice how I haven't even called Farida by her name up until now, because unlike the first film, and pretty much all the side characters, she's got basically nothing to do in this film. She has no plot involvement whatsoever. Her only real purpose is for Jodie to express her feelings onto Farida so we, the audience, know how she's feeling. Like, for example, if you couldn't tell she'd be sad after a breakup, she would then exposition dump onto Farida. Also, completely out of nowhere, again, another plot point, Farida has now started a merch company and sold out instantly, but her parents, who are incredibly overbearing, aren't too happy about that.
Farida's shirt sold out. No way!
That's wonderful, dear. You should be very proud of yourself.
I am. Are you?
Of course we are. But you turned 17 today, and it's time to get serious about your future.
And it's not that we don't think that you're talented, because we do. But the odds of succeeding in the fashion industry are next to impossible, sweetheart.
Medical school is a much safer career path.
Okay, the parents are like any Disney parents ever. Where did this come from? We never saw the parents in the first film. You've almost brought out this plot point that Farida has her own internal struggles, and this never gets acknowledged. We never see the parents again. Their overbearingness is never questioned again. It's just there. I feel like I'm turning into nostalgia critic, man. Like, please, with this film. It's almost like they knew the plot with Jodie and her insecurities would go nowhere and it'd make the film 40 minutes long. So they put in all these weird kind of subplots like Kimmy now being a good person, Stig now having a sister, and Farida's parents being lebad. None of these get resolved, by the way. None of them. To confuse you even further, Frida now seems to get on with Stig. Look, I'm really trying to care at this point, man. I really am. Anyway, the restaurant they're at is actually part karaoke bar, and Frida takes Stig up to help him with his confidence issues, despite him never showing any confidence issues throughout the entire film. And obviously, for someone with incredibly low confidence and talent, he knocks it out the park, because of course he does, going so far to drop his Swedish accent just to sing.
Just talking, get to know you better.
The problem with Tall Girl 2 is it has no room to grow. I like that one. That's a good joke. That's a good joke. This is something the reviews have expressed as well. There's no real need for this film. It just made Netflix a ton of money, and they really poorly justify a sequel here. And the fact you've got Jodie's internal struggle and then all these like B plots and C plots that don't go anywhere, it might as well be a Black Mirror anthology because nothing here is connected. After Stig's amazing performance, he goes out to his car and accidentally shows Frida that he was the one that bought all of her shirts.
Those are my shirts. You bought them all?
You were losing confidence in yourself. I thought this might help give some of it back.
Farida's happy with him, but also really annoyed with him because, you know, it's not proving anything to her parents. And then they exchange a kiss. Apparently they've been having feelings with each other. Man, did the writer just like give up halfway through and his kid took over? What is this? Jodie then finally arrives at the restaurant herself and is about to go inside to talk to Jack, but then the voices in her head again tell her it's not worth it and she should leave.
Looks like Dunk's still living his best life. And you're still living your worst.
Yep, Jack is living his best life. That's why half a nanosecond after you walk away, he looks really sad at his mic and how depressed he is. I just imagine like Jack's actor is like, okay, 3, 2, 1, look depressed. Jodie's confidence actually stoops so bad that she ends up having a panic attack. And again, if the acting didn't convey that, we have to artificially add a heartbeat sound effect like she's playing Amnesia or something.
And there's no way in hell that Juilliard or anyone for that matter is gonna want anything to do with me, so I just...
Are you okay?
Mom, I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Pull over. Richie, pull over.
Panic attacks are horrible. I've been lucky enough to never have one properly. Her acting was really good there. It perfectly conveyed the anxiety and that trapped feeling you get. You didn't need to add the Modern Warfare 2 heartbeat sensor there. That really wasn't needed. Her parents, finally realizing how much they pushed Jodie, apologize and give her the option to completely give up on the stage play if it helps her anxiety. But you know what? Jodie gets up and she looks at the sky, fist clenched, and she says, "No, I will do the play." Now that is character development. Harper, Jodie's sister, is about to leave for LA for a new job. Again, we pray for her in Jesus' name, amen. But before she leaves, gives some advice to Jodie about how everyone is insecure as each other.
What if beauty pageants are the only thing I'm actually good at? Harper, since when do you get that voice? Since always. Surprise! What? What about the... if you don't learn to control it, it's gonna control you? Yeah, I don't know how to control it. I just wanted to sound like I did. You want people to take you seriously? And know that you don't have to be afraid to say, I don't know, if you don't know. One thing I definitely don't know. How I'm gonna survive without you.
I mean, you know, again, it's so easy to hate on this film, but this is one of the few scenes that I do like. It shows that Harper, the literal, unironic, perfect sister in every single way, is just as insecure and broken as Jodie is. And even though Harper is only in this film for about 8 seconds, and you could have replaced her with a cardboard cutout and no one would have noticed, it's a good scene and it shows how vulnerable she is. It helps Jodie realize that the voice in her head will truly never go away, and all she can do is learn to cope with it. You know what? Well done, Tall Girl 2. You get a chocolate medal from me. On the other hand, the boys also make more progress, with Jack offering to let Stig stay even longer because, you know, he's had that amazing plot development like cooking a meal and wearing a hat in a thrift shop. You know what? I'm just going to ignore it, okay? The writers obviously want to clear up every single plot point for the third act. If it gets the film done quicker, I'm here for it. At the party, the day before the rehearsal, Jodie confronts Farida and Stig about them hooking up with each other.
I know. Actually knew the other night in the parking lot. And it's okay. Are you sure? Trust me, it is the only thing in my life that I am sure of right now.
So, I guess she doesn't care. I mean, that's great, and more power to her, but how did she find out? By the time she pulled up in her car, they'd already finished. Was she like, did she send a decoy and she was hiding in the bushes recording it or something? But I get it. I mean, Jodie and Stig don't really have any romantic ties anymore, so she can't really object to the relationship. Jodie then meets with Jack to make peace for the third time now, and the conversation hits pretty much every single story beat you can think of about fixing a relationship, admitting fault and apologizing, starting with, look, I know you don't want to speak to me, and then suddenly Jack's girlfriend Stella wanting to get back with her ex, wrapping up everything perfectly. This all accumulates with Jack having the worst speech check failure of all time.
I don't know if I can trust her again.
Your whole life, you put her on a pedestal. And the second she does something that ruins your perfect image of her, you push her off of it.
And then, in an even more surprising twist, Jack is a complete no-show to Jody's performance. Wait a minute, there's no way that Jack turned up late and then he's gonna surprise Jodie. No, he wouldn't. Just before the performance starts, Jodie has more voices in her head than ever, but seems to somehow blow them all out just as the performance starts. Doesn't make sense. There was no real, like, turning point where she managed to deal with them. They just kind of leave on their own, like they're on vacation. But Jodie's performance, she knocks it out the park, only having a minor fumble when Tommy comes on stage.
Get it together, Jodie.
Being of sound mind and body. Being of sound mind and body. Promise.
That was Kimmy. Helping her with the lines, by the way. The same Kimmy that saved Jodie's shoes. This is the girl that wanted to drug her in the beginning of the film. Why is she being nice now? She's gone from, like, Syndrome to Mrs. Incredible. You know, it gets the film over faster. It gets the film over faster. Focus on the end goal. After her performance, Jack comes in. Who would have seen that coming? And we get this really weird shot that on accident actually looks really good. It kind of looks like one of those split diopter shots that you get in films where the character foreground and then the character in the background are brought together. These are usually pretty complex shots used to divide your attention between two things, a character in the background and in the foreground. But this shot looks way too good for a film like this. I have no idea why it's here. Jack then shows Jodie the pictures he's been taking all throughout the film. Surprise, surprise, most of them being of Jodie. I mean, you know, because all the actions he did prior with the sweets and the caring and the nurturing and the flowers and the bag, that didn't mean anything. It has to be the pictures. Okay, Tall Girl 2. Okay. Literally, the only reason he started talking to Stella was to make Jodie jealous. Anyway, they do a little kissy-wissy, they get back together, they start dancing, and the film ends exactly where the first one did. -1 milk crate. The thing is with this film, ironically, the side characters are the one that have the most development, even though it doesn't make any sense. Jack and Jodie are pretty much unchanged from start to finish. There's just so many, like, invalid plot points here that don't go anywhere, like with Tommy when they shared a kiss. Why didn't that go anywhere more? Like, it just kind of ends there. He never becomes a threat to Jack. So yeah, Tall Girl 2 is a very, very unneeded sequel. I think the problem is with the first film, they squashed the main antagonist, Jodie's insecurity and all the bullies. That was dealt with. At the beginning of the second film, she was soaring in confidence, so the writers had to justify a new threat by having her have this voice in her head that tells her that she's a bad person. The thing is, I liked the opening of this film. I really did. The fact that that judge said to her, like, is your height really a bad thing? There are more important issues. I thought that would be the focus of the film, but instead it goes into all these weird, like, Rick and Morty side plots, and Jack and Jodie, will they get together? Will they break up? It's obvious they will. It's so obvious. And also, Farida's parents, right? Like, they were so overbearing to her. They were cruel, if anything, and that's never brought up again. I mean, I guess that'll be the main plot in Tall Girl 3. Imagine if Farida's the protagonist in the third film and it's just called Normal Height Girl. I also like as well how Jodie is an incredible dancer in this film with, like, no prior training beforehand. Now, it was pretty obvious that Tall Girl was meant to be a standalone film, but the amount of Netflix subscriptions it got, they had to make a sequel. Much like how this video is inevitable, because I make money off it. So thank you, Netflix, for filling my bank account. Thank you all for watching. Please join my next video where I analyze Tall Girl 3, The Revenge of the Sith. Also, I went on my subreddit and someone put that Tall Girl 2 was the #1 most watched show in Netflix Brazil. Thank you, Brazil. I hope you're happy with yourselves.